Welcome into Outkick the Show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Just got back from New Orleans, which is a purple and gold bedecked celebratory orgy down in the French Quarter and the New Orleans area. Flight was delayed a couple of hours, bad fog there. Literally just got back home 10 minutes ago. Knocking out the show now with you guys. Got Lock It In here in about, 45 minutes on FS1. We'll be talking about this game and the AFC and NFC championship games upcoming. But we have got a lot to get to unpack from last night's game. I would encourage you, if you want a big, long-form discussion surrounding LSU Clemson, I had a great Outkick show that we did early this morning down in New Orleans. Joel Klatt was on, Petros Papadakis, and Charles Davis, all breaking down the game. I think you guys will enjoy it. Search out my name, Clay Travis. Search out Outkick. You'll be glad that you did. You won't miss anything at all. But we got a lot to get to, and I want to start with Joe Burrow, who, upon reflection, I think I was the first person who said, hey, if Joe Burrow goes 15-0, he's going to be the best quarterback in the history of college football for any one single season. He would pass Cam Newton. I believe that is 100% true. But I also believe you can make an argument, and I don't even think it's a crazy one, that Joe Burrow's season this year for LSU is the greatest single college football season of most of our lives. Now, I can't go back into the 1940s and 50s and know exactly how dominant people were back then. But if you look at dominating seasons, whether it's Vince Young's in 2005, whether it was Deshaun Watson in 2015, Cam Newton, I believe it was in 2011, whatever year Auburn won the national championship, Tim Tebow, his Heisman Trophy year, Johnny Manziel, Barry Sanders in 1988, I'm not sure that any of them are better than what Joe Burrow did this season when you consider the 15-0, when you consider that he beat 5 of the top 8 teams in the country. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But when you beat Alabama, when you beat Auburn, when you beat Florida, when you beat Oklahoma, when you beat Clemson, and when you beat whatever Georgia, the other SEC team that I left out, all 6 of those teams finished, I believe, in the top 8, if I'm not mistaken, in the final 8 of the college football playoff rankings. Maybe Auburn didn't, but Auburn was clearly a top 10 caliber team as well. I think you can make a strong argument that Joe Burrow has just posted not only the best season in the history of quarterbacks in college football. I don't even think there's an argument about that at this point. There's a strong argument that Joe Burrow just posted the greatest single season in modern college football history with what he did. If we were voting, for instance, on the Heisman Trophy, it would have to be unanimous. 100% of people would all have to agree, I believe, that Joe Burrow deserves the Heisman Trophy. And this was, I think, an incredible performance by him. Yet again, 6 touchdown passes. Couple of stats for you that really kind of sum this up. LSU was down 10 points, 17-7. When up double digits, Clemson had won 89 straight football games. From the point where they were down 17-7, Joe Burrow, LSU, that offense and that defense outscored Clemson 35-8. So after starting off slow and giving Clemson a 17-7 lead, Joe Burrow and LSU fought back to outscore Clemson 35-8 the rest of the way. Game looked a little bit too big this year for Trevor Lawrence. He was 1 for 10, I believe, or 1 for 11 on third down. Airmailed a lot of throws, was not very dialed in compared to Joe Burrow. There was a big gap in Burrow's understanding of the offense compared to Trevor Lawrence's understanding of the offense. Congratulations to Joe Burrow. This is what sports is supposed to represent. This is a guy who dreamed his entire life of playing football for Ohio State, dreamed of being their quarterback, puts his heart and soul into being the Ohio State quarterback, gets beaten out by Dwayne Haskins and isn't going to be the starter anymore, decides to transfer after graduating from school and doing all the good work there to be eligible elsewhere, goes to LSU. People don't really buy into him that much. Last year, 16 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, and comes in this year and posts 60 touchdown passes against 6 interceptions, the greatest passing season, the greatest quarterback season of all time in college football. It's hard not to root for this guy. And that iconic picture of him smoking the cigar, wearing the hat that says that he's got a big Dick Cheney, all of it was about how good Joe Burrow is. I hope the Bengals don't break him. We'll have a lot of time to talk about that. If I were the Bengals, I would think about paying whatever it's necessary for Joe Brady to accompany Joe Burrow to Cincinnati. If I'm going to invest $40 or $50 million in Joe Burrow, why not bring the coach that has helped make him as good as he could possibly be? That seems like it makes an awful lot of sense. LSU. You can make an argument that LSU is the greatest college football team of all time. First of all, only they and Clemson last year have gone 15-0. As I mentioned before, you talk about Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, and wins over Oklahoma and Clemson, both dominant in the playoff. That's 6 top 10 caliber wins. If you want to toss in Texas on the road at night in Austin as a place that's really difficult to win, back in September when Texas thought they were going to be really good. It's as good of a resume as we've ever seen in the history of college football. It just is. And that defense for LSU came on in a big way down the stretch run of the season as well. They were really good against A&M, good against Arkansas, who's not very good. They were good against Georgia. They were really good against Oklahoma and Clemson when all was said and done. Guys, they posted 638 yards of offense against Clemson, the number one statistical defense in all of college football. They hung 638 on them and could have very easily put up 50 on them. That is worth breaking down and analyzing, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I also want to say this. I was completely wrong about Ed Orgeron. When LSU hired Coach O, I thought they should have hired Tom Herman. I thought they should have hired Jimbo Fisher. I thought they should have hired an offensive head coach to remake the broken LSU offense for so long under Les Miles and others. And so as you looked at that hire, I didn't like it. I said, I think justifiably, this guy's already had a chance in the SEC. He went 10-25 overall at Ole Miss, 3-21 in the SEC in 3 years at Ole Miss. It was an abject failure. I don't think he should get the job at LSU. I don't think he will win there. I was wrong. Coach O proved me wrong. He proved a lot of people wrong. His combination with Joe Burrow proved an awful lot of people that they had misevaluated both of those guys. Give Coach O credit. I never thought that he would be able to keep up with Nick Saban. I never thought that he'd be able to win the SEC. I never thought that he'd be able to beat Alabama. I certainly didn't think he'd be able to dominate like this. I think you got to give all the credit in the world to Coach Ed Orgeron for proving people like me and a lot of you wrong. I flat out did not believe in him based on the evidence that I had seen at Ole Miss, the 10-25 and the 3-21 record. And so I was wrong. And props to Coach O for proving me and many other people wrong about his success at LSU. Okay, couple of other things. On the field, Odell Beckham Jr. makes a lot of bad decisions to draw attention to himself. Being on the field after LSU won a national championship and giving wads of what appeared to be cash is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen any wide receiver or player do in general who's going to draw attention to himself. Now, LSU says the money was fake. Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't have Zapruder film analysis to be able to zoom in exactly on what the dollars are or whether it was fake money or anything else. Let's presume that LSU's telling the truth and this is fake money. Why would you pretend to pay anybody fake money on the field while everybody is celebrating the national championship? Let's presume that this is an accurate statement. It's an insanely stupid decision to make by Odell Beckham Jr. because it puts the microscope immediately on your school, which already has the microscope on it, by the way, because of everything that surrounds the decision-making of your basketball coach, where you have been alleged to be buying players through basketball for a substantial period of time. Why would you be standing on the field with fake money regardless, all right? If it's real money, it's even dumber, but if it's fake money, it's equally dumb. It makes no sense. It's just screams, look at me. I need to draw attention to myself. I need for everybody to be paying attention to what's going on with me on the football field, even when I'm not playing, even when I've been graduated for several years. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. It's a really bad decision by Odell Beckham Jr. He put his school in a bad spot. He put the players that he gave the cash to in a bad spot. There's absolutely nothing that is positive about this story at all. It just screams, I'm stupid, and also screams, why in the world would anybody pay attention to this diva wide receiver when he's consistently making bad decisions that seem to work against his and his team's best interest? Yeah. And so I just think that is absurd. Now, this is interesting to me. I went to the LSU Alabama game. Donald Trump was there. When they put him on the Jumbotron, the crowd went crazy at LSU Alabama. Everybody cheered him. That story got almost no attention. When people booed Donald Trump when he went to the Washington Nationals game, it was a lead story everywhere. Last night, Trump walked onto the field during the national anthem. People were chanting USA. There were loud spasms of extemporaneous joy over the President of the United States being there from both LSU and Clemson fans. Nobody talked about it. No media covered it. No media made a big deal about it. It's a big deal to most people in the sports media when Donald Trump gets booed, but it's not a big deal at all when he gets cheered. Isn't that the same story? The truth of the matter is this. Donald Trump is a polarizing president. When he appears in front of fans from states where he won, they're going to receive him very well. When he's in the Northeast and he goes in the most democratic city in America, maybe in Washington, D.C., he's going to get booed. Yet the booing got an inordinate amount of attention. The praise and the cheering got almost none at all. It wasn't trending on social media. It wasn't receiving hardly any attention at all. So if it is a story at a sporting event when the president is booed because he's a polarizing figure, why is it not equally a story if the president is cheered when he goes to a sporting event as well? My argument is, and this is what I've been saying from the get-go, cover stories fairly. If you believe that the president being booed is a big story when he goes to a Washington Nationals game, then it should be a big story when he's in Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama and gets cheered wildly, or it should be a big story when it's the biggest sporting event of the year. It's on national television, everybody is there, and it's wild cheers in support of the president. Why not treat everything equally? Why not call balls and strikes in a fair manner, right? Just a question for you guys. Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn tying in with this absurdity of social media. Vince Vaughn was at the game. And he was in the same box where Donald Trump was. And he met the president, shook his hand, appeared to talk to him for about 20 or 30 seconds. They showed it on ESPN. The clip went viral. And people lost their minds over the fact that Vince Vaughn was shaking hands with the president. Now, Adam Carolla's got an interesting theory. He says if you don't know the politics of someone in Hollywood, then they're a Republican or they're a libertarian or they're a free markets guy or girl. If they aren't out screaming their politics to the high heavens, then they probably are not avowedly far left wing. And so how is this remotely worthy of condemnation? And this is something I have said from the get-go. I would be happy to shake the president of any political party's hand and tell him, thanks for the work that you're doing on behalf of the country. Regardless of whether he's a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, doesn't matter to me. That used to be commonplace. We would show respect for the president even if we might not have voted for him. I would go visit the White House if I were invited, whether I voted for the president or not, because I'm an American and I want the president to do well because I don't want the country to fail, even if I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for George W. Bush. I wanted him to do well. I voted for Barack Obama. I wanted him to do well. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I want him to do well. I might vote for him in 2020. because people have lost their minds over their criticisms. But how is it that Vince Vaughn has left-wingers all a Twitter because he reached out, shook the president's hand, and talked to him for 30 seconds? This entire world that we're in right now is absolutely crazy that this could become one of the top trending topics in the entire country because Vince Vaughn shook the hand of the president. I don't understand it at all. It doesn't seem to me to have been remotely controversial. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. I got to go bounce and go do the show. Lock it in here in about 30 minutes. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Props to LSU. Props to Joe Burrow. I hope some of you hopped on board with me on Lock It In and got LSU at a big futures ticket. I had them at 7-1 so I could hedge in this game, have a lot of money that I won. I will be in first place on Lock It In as soon as we begin this program in a little bit. Going to be a little bit of a hectic week for me. I'm back tomorrow. I'll do the show here. And then I got to hop on a plane and fly out to LA and go do some work to get ready for the Super Bowl with Lock It In and Fox. By the way, fingers crossed Titans could win because we'll do a full week regardless of radio and TV down in Miami. Would be that much more fun for me if the Titans were able to be there. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Like I said, congrats to LSU, to Coach O, to Joe Burrow, all around. Great time down in New Orleans. City did a fantastic job hosting it. Congrats to all the LSU fans out there. Laissez le bon temps rouler. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'll see you guys. Kisses. Love you. Thank you, Facebook.